Izuogu mma mmanụ, Izuogu mma mmanụ, Izuogu mma mmanụ, ụmụ nwanyị ori ihe ụmụ ọkpụmụnụ na-eji The chairman of this historic occasion, Professor Sylvester Okaba meziri nna ya. The President General Arondizuogu Patriotic Union, APU Worldwide, Mazi Peter Obiagwu. The trustees of APU present, the President, Arondizuogu Patriotic Union, Congress of North America, NCNA, Chief Emmanuel Nwankwo, Woodman. The President, APU United Kingdom and Ireland, Mazi Ustademo Okoli, Ugweje Jemba. The President, APU Canada, Mazi Charles Imofo, Bamnihu. The President, APU Canada Women Wing, Mrs. Comfort Okabam, Anyanwototo. The Chairman, APU Canada 2024 Convention Committee, Mazi O.J. Jefferson Brown Asozo, Ogbuehi Chinyerugo. Most distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. When I was approached a few weeks ago to deliver this keynote address, I was fascinated by the theme, Ogbako Maka Oganihu Izuogu. I was excited by the aptness of the theme, the simplicity of its coinage, the linguistic precision of its Igbo rendition, and the audacity of its acceptability in an age of cultural alienation. I readily agreed, not only for the sentiments expressed above, but because in a profound way, the theme of this convention speaks, on the one hand, to the operative principle and development strategy of our community, and on the other hand, to the sustainability and survivability of that strategy. I thank the President of APU Canada, Mazi Charles Imofo, the Executive Committee, and the 2024 Convention Committee for inviting me. I also thank Mazi Zenwa Efobi and Mazi Enuma Okabam for keeping the heat on me to ensure that I was not prevented from carrying out the task by the unpredictable disruptions and distractions of daily life in Nigeria. I doff my hat for the chairman of this occasion, Professor Sylvester Okaba Mezrinea, who I have never met physically, but who I have enjoyed many enlightening conversations with. I salute specially the President General of APU Worldwide, Mazi Peter Obiagwu, who has broken an 88-year-old jinx by constructing, with the material support of APU members, a befitting headquarter building for APU, which will, mutatis mutandis, serve as Arondizuogu Civic Center, an everlasting monument for Arondizuogu unity. When we were trying to persuade him to run for office before his election, a year before his election actually, I referred him to Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 18, where Jesus said to Peter, "And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not overcome it." He laughed. To the glory of God, what was prophesied has come to pass. Peter Obiagwu, Okwute Ndị Izuogu, Ekenengu. In consonance with the protocol so poignantly set by the theme of this convention, this keynote address is titled, Ogbako Maka Oganihu Izuogu, Onyahu, Ta Nechi. I shall make it brief. My intention is not to lecture you, but to agitate your minds on the past, the present, and the future of our community development initiative. I'll take a definition. The term Ogbako Maka Oganihu Izuogu can be defined conjunctively or disjunctively. Either way, it has a literal and a putative connotation. Literally and disjunctively, Ogbako implies a meeting, a gathering, a get-together, a conference, or a convention. Maka Oganihu provides the objective or purpose, and the purpose means for progress, betterment, or development. For whose benefit? The beneficiary in the context of this term is our community. Izuogu, Ndi Izuogu, Arondizuogu, Izuogu Niheme. Call it what you may. It means one and the same thing. Ọgbakọ maka ọganihu Izuogu, therefore, simply means a meeting for the betterment of Arondizuogu. In a putative and conjunctive sense, the term Ọgbakọ maka ọganihu Izuogu is a clarion call. Like the vibrant message of the town crier blowing in the wind, is a call to action. A call to those who are rooted in their common ancestry. Those that are filled with the spirit of patriotism to stand up and be counted. Viewed from a generic dimension, Ọgbakọ maka ọganihu Izuogu refers to a congregation of persons with a sense of community, or to be more precise, a sense of nativity for their betterment or their advancement. A gathering of people with a common heritage in pursuit of the welfare of their community. Let's take a little background. The origin of Ọgbakọ maka ọganihu Izuogu, or a convention for the development of Ndi Izuogu, in a more than informal sense, can be traced to October 8, 1932, when some passionate and patriotic young men from various parts of Arondizuogu met in Aba to discuss what they perceived to be the major challenges militating against the progress of our community. That meeting, that gathering, that convention resulted in the formation of Arondizuogu Patriotic Union, under which auspices this event is holding here today. Since 1932, APU has grown into a virtual Iroko tree, with branches that cover the world from West and South Africa to Europe, from Asia to North America. APU today may be likened to the old British Empire, on which it was said the sun never sets. As APU members are going to bed in one part of the world, others are waking up in another part of the world. And at the center is APU National, or International, if you may, which serves as the axis on which all APU branches revolve. I've written a book on the history of APU with a foreword, kindly written by our own Professor Anaeze Okoro of blessed memory. Some of our best intellectuals consider that book a scholarly chronicle of that golden era of our community. Unyahu, how it all began. The young men of Arondizuogu who organized what may be referred as the first Ọgbakọ maka ọganihu Izuogu in October 1932 left their homes for the first time in the 1920s and early 1930s to seek a better life in the emerging urban centers of colonial Nigeria. When they found themselves in social, economic, and political environments different from the way they knew at home, they refused to be intimidated. They refused to be alienated. They held on to that deep feeling of love for our community with which they grew up. They had a vision for our community and they pursued that vision with clinical precision as one body. What was that vision? The vision. The first Ọgbakọ maka ọganihu Ndi Izuogu, which was the inaugural meeting of Arondizuogu Patriotic Union APU, held in about October 8, 1932, had a simple agenda, which embodied the vision of the founding fathers. This agenda was compressed into 6 questions. I have taken these questions verbatim from the minutes of their meeting. 1. Can Ndi Izuogu not have any motor roads running through their towns or villages? 2. Can we not ask that some of our men be employed in the Native Administration Office at Okigwe? 3. Where can Ndi Izuogu abroad make their home? 4. Why do Ndi Izuogu now live in long distances apart? 5. Why do our people at home now treat thieves leniently, allowing them to resume their former positions? 6. Are the people at home encouraging or discouraging anonymous summons again, in brackets, akwụkwọ nwannu? In spite of their educational limitations, the founding fathers of APU that met in 1932 crystallized the challenges confronting our community, many of which we are still battling with today. Those same questions which they raised in 1932 are still salient today. Roads, access to political power, infrastructural development, balkanization of our towns and villages, security, malicious litigation. Today, the reality. The more things change, the more they remain the same. If we run a reality check, the indications that will be that we have departed from the wisdom of the old. We are tactless, undiplomatic, garrulous, and irritable, unlike our forefathers. Our attitude to government, for instance, at best, is to distance ourselves from it and to accuse and abuse people in authority. We are rarely supportive of our sons and daughters in power or leadership positions. We do not advise, guide, or even try to point out to them what needs to be done. Instead, we tend to deride and denigrate them. From a virile, united, and proactive community of yesterday that set the pace for other communities to follow, we have turned full circle today to become a reactive community. That of skeptics that revel in cynicism, in endless disputations and internecine feuds. Despite our immense endowment in human resources, despite our advancement in all fields of human endeavor, our community today is bedeviled by a big challenge of leadership and a bigger challenge of followership. When our contemporaries hold meetings to discuss issues of strategic interest to their communities, no one balks and the venue is jam-packed. When we do the same, vested interests emerge. Internet tigers roar and attendance is sparse and scanty. When our neighbors hold town union elections, their first 11 throw their hats into the ring. When we do the same, our first 11 stay away for fear of being saddled with leadership responsibility. When our neighbors face a communal challenge, they confront it proactively and collectively. When we are faced with the same situation, we break ranks, retreat, and turn around to blame those that have volunteered to serve our community, or indeed anyone else but ourselves. That is the reason things seem to have fallen apart in our community, in our generation. But thankfully, the center is still holding. Each one of us has a role to play to ensure that it continues to hold. We review the past and appraise the present to enable us better prepare for the future. Ọgbakọ maka Arondizuogu is not merely a statement. It is our link to the past, the present, and the future. Nkerede na azizu kahaha. Anyone that hears the town crier and fails to conform is not reckoned with in our community. Of course, the term our community has been changing with the times. In the past, our community referred to our beloved homeland. Today, in addition to our original homeland, our community also refers to the gathering of our people, such as we have here today, or in any part of the world where our people have found and established a second home. Because as the saying goes, Igbo onye biko na awachi. In times of crisis, in times of rapid change, and at all times, the elites and leaders of our community must broaden their horizons beyond the present and look into the future. In trying times, or what the great essayist Thomas Paine described as the times that try men's souls, we learn and relearn the lessons of acting in solidarity and the value of pulling together. We can overcome our challenges and our adversities by the strength of our togetherness. We can prepare for tomorrow by building stronger communities today. To do so, we need unselfish leaders that can bring our people together, heal rifts between individuals and communities, and build bridges across divides. The motto of APU, chosen by the founding fathers early in the life of the union, was "Unity is strength." It has remained so ever since. Ọgbakọ maka Arondizuogu is like a lamp. We need that lamp to find our way in a darkening world. The world is changing, and very fast too. Old strategies and old ways of doing things must make way for creative and innovative ideas. Virtual meetings are now helping to bridge the challenge of time and space. But there are other intrinsic issues, like the first Ọgbakọ maka Arondizuogu in Aba did in 1932, We shall pose some additional questions for APU leaders and members present at Ogbako maka Arondizuogu taking place here today, and for our people and communities worldwide generally to consider as an agenda for the future. One, are our sons and daughters who have come of age involved in the regular meetings and events of our community? Are they involved in the planning and organization of meetings, cultural events, and conventions of our community so that they can develop a sense of ownership, so that they can bring fresh perspectives, and so that they can learn directly from us, the elders, and become properly equipped to pass on our heritage to their own children? Two, do our sons and daughters have sufficient exposure to our cultural identity and our heritage embedded in our language, our music, our proverbs, our fashion, our history, our literature, our values, our modus operandi, and our modus vivendi? Is our cultural transmission mechanism effective enough to help our children born outside the homeland to develop a strong sense of identity and connection to their roots? Are we encouraging our successors to join us in Arondizuogu-centric social media groups? How do we precipitate intergenerational bonding if we do not keep our offspring close to their kith and kin, enable them to ask questions beyond the immediate family, so as to obtain the knowledge and understanding that will enable them to bridge the cultural gap? In short, what are our succession plans? What steps are we taking to ensure that Ogbako Arondizuogu does not end with our generation, but continues to the next generation and subsequent generations? Conclusion, I will round up shortly. Ogbako Arondizuogu is like a relay race. Since 1932, the sons and daughters of Arondizuogu, together with their wives, have been receiving the baton and handing it over from generation to generation. For that race to continue, we must continue to meet, to think ahead, and to plan ahead. There are many distractions in the world we live in, and there are many distractions in a world veering increasingly towards exponential technological growth and possibly technological singularity, or if you like, virtualization of reality, which can best be described as the digitalization of everything. If we cannot prepare the future for our successors, we should prepare our successors for the future, not only in terms of essential skill sets and mindsets to survive and to excel in a rapidly changing world driven by digitalization and globalization, but also in terms of the wisdom, the resilience, and the courage to raise the flag of our community high, in terms of the audacity to embrace, to preserve, and to project our culture and our heritage with a sense of pride as we are doing here today. Thank you for listening.